Here.
Commissioner Hope.
Here.
All present, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Sorry about that, Commissioners. I guess I've been away from this a little too long. But moving on to approval of the agenda. Well, as I said, we have presentation special report from Deputy Administrator Nicole Frost. We have no appointments to boards and commissions, and we already asked about the consent agenda to get approved, which there's nothing there to change. Brings us to committee reports, Finance and Administration.
Finance and Administration is all set, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Item B is the Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee.
Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committees is all set, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Item C is the Human Resource and Public Works Committee.
Human Resources and Public Works Committee is all set, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We have no intergovernmental affairs or administrator controller issues, or is there any governmental affairs? Excuse me, Tobin.
That's all right. Not tonight, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Administrator controller issues, Nicole, is there any?
No, sir,
To add.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We have no unfinished business. Under new business, we have two items there, the COVID-19 discussion, and Nicole's going to report on the CARES Act funding discussion there. General public comment under announcements. We have nothing there. And I tell you, I like the agenda, the way it's been moved, because this way with the closed session, it's the last item we have. And I think this is a great change, so I applaud it. I need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion to approve by Horton.
Second, Swaney.
Been moved and supported to approve the agenda as presented. Madam Clerk, a roll call, please.
Commissioner Hope,
Yes.
Commissioner Engler,
Yes.
Commissioner Jelzinski,
Yes.
Commissioner Horton,
Yes.
Commissioner Marino,
Yes.
Commissioner Swaney,
Yes.
Commissioner Green.
Yes,
Number of votes is 7, ayes are 7, nays are 0. Motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
thank you. Item number 4 is general public comment. Anybody that's standing aside, Michelle, waiting on a general public comment.
There are 3 callers to the meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
So if any of the callers would like to speak at public comment, currently muted and would need to press *9 on their keypad, this will raise their hand so that I know you want to speak. So we'll just give a little bit of time for you to find that. If you are calling in for public comment, please press *9 on your keypad. I do not see them raising their hands, Mr. Chairman.
we will move on from general public comment to item 5, which is the presentations and special reports. And Nicole Frost, Deputy Administrator, will report. Nicole?
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I've been working on the fiscal year 2021 budget quite a bit lately. We've met now with all departments and have presented the first draft of the budget to Finance Committee last Tuesday. That had a big deficit, as the first draft generally does, and we will work through it until hopefully we can get as close to 0 as possible. I met with our 44 North rep to receive our Blue Cross Blue Shield renewal for next year's insurance rates. We are seeing kind of a sizable increase in our insurance rates for next year, almost 9%. It's based on experience and use of our plan, and we've had a couple of really good years, and quite often that's followed up with a year of an increase. So 2021 we'll see a bit of an increase there. Other things other than budget stuff, we worked with Lieutenant Dush over at the jail to release an RFP recently for jail inmate medical, so healthcare services for the correctional facility. Those are due in early August, and they're trying to just firm up that number for budget time as well. I'm working with MGT on our fiscal year 2019 cost allocation plan. If you remember that contract coming to you recently, we were with Maximus for that cost allocation plan for the last 20 plus years, and And this is the first year that MGT will be preparing that plan for us. Since it is the first year for them doing it, they have a little bit of extra work to do, and a little extra data collection, but we're working through that. We use the fiscal 18 cost allocation plan numbers in the budget for indirect costs because it's a timing issue. If you think about it right now, we're building the fiscal year 2019 cost plan based on audited numbers. It's not going to be ready to build into the budget in time. So we made a decision last year to do quite like our MERS valuation. The numbers from the 19 plan will actually be built into the 2022 budget. Chairman Green and I attended the 2% distribution at the tribe recently. Even though it was a much different event from years past, still a fantastic event to be a part of. And I know that the 2% distribution list went out to you all, so you know what was funded, but just very happy to be a part of that and thrilled that that relationship continues. Jail committee meetings I've been attending with Chairman Green, and we've also met recently with a financial advisor to start the bond issue process for the jail project. Again, very much on the preliminary end of that, but also some follow-up discussions with bond counsel. So we know what we're getting into. Zooming, and recently assisted our Human Rights Committee with their first Zoom. Our Veterans Affairs Committee is now Zooming. Our MRF Advisory Board met last week for the first time on Zoom, and our Commission on Aging Advisory Board is going to meet soon. So there's no need to not be meeting. The governor has extended the electronic meeting allowance through Open Meetings Act. And so everybody's back meeting. I'm thrilled to be a part of that as well. As you know, I sent out an update late, I think it was late last week on Friday after I had submitted the applications for the public safety and public health payroll reimbursement grants. So these were for the months of April and May, and it totaled just over 1.4 million requests from Isabella for our public safety payroll. And then I did submit a second application, very separate application on behalf of the health department. They were not considered eligible by Treasury for this funding. There was
Range.
a legislative fix there. So we felt if they had an application in the queue, that would help their better position them for future funding. I'll talk later about that in the COVID CARES Act funding.
Great, on the CARES Act.
Oh, we have had several leadership team meetings. We keep having those once a week. I have admin team meetings once a week, and I have started to meet with Mark and Nancy like Margaret was doing before she went on leave, but it's tough to get that to come to fruition sometimes. So mostly I've just met with Nancy, but we're all trying to get together on that. The county's COVID response plan, we'll talk more later on that in the agenda as well, but certainly been working to interpret the plan and as employee questions or situations arise, working within that plan for guidance. Next steps for me, I'll be working really soon to get the ambulance services RFP out. We need to release that this summer. The contract expires end of year, so we need that out there so we can have something in place before December. So we'll see that issued within the next couple of weeks, I'm sure. Looking at extending our current audit contract, we received a very attractive proposal from our current auditors, Raymond. And so I'll be working on a staff report to the board for possible extending that. Further work on the budget, getting the second draft to finance. Also working on our property and liability insurance renewal with MMRMA. It's kind of a big annual project, if you can imagine. I don't know if Tobin, if you'll touch on this later, but we have an intergovernmental liaison meeting coming up in August. I'm on August 3rd. I'm happy to be a part of that. Never been to one, so interested to work with our community partners and see what's on everybody's mind with COVID and maybe some other things too. Who knows? Really, the last thing that's come across my plate recently that I kind of had to giggle was apparently the gypsy moths have made quite a resurgence. And I said, well, finally a crisis that we are familiar with, but that, you know, in times past, people look to the county for that. We don't have the resources for
Right.
a gypsy moth suppression program county level now, but I do know that MSU Extension is stepping up and helping the townships in that endeavor. So unless anyone has any questions for me.
Any questions for Nicole? Sounds like you've been busy as usual, Nicole. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, Chairman. Oh, looks like Commissioner Engler has a
Oh,
question.
Commissioner Engler, yes, sir.
Yeah, I talked with Paul Gross about the gypsy moth, and they're collecting. It's too late to be spraying, but they are trying to get a spring spraying schedule. So they're trying to plan some education for the townships to coordinate that. So just, that's all I have. Just a little update on that. So.
Okay. Any other questions? And we don't have any appointments to boards and commissioners. We're down the consent agenda. Commissioner Swaney, would you like to read that, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Consent agenda reads, motion, move to approve and place on file the June 16th, 2020 regular meeting minutes.
Support, Marino.
Been moved and supported to approve the consent agenda as read. Madam Clerk, a roll call, please.
Commissioner Hope,
Yes.
Commissioner Engler,
Yes.
Commissioner Jagodzinski,
Yes.
Commissioner Horton, Commissioner Horton,
Yes.
Commissioner Marino,
Yes.
Commissioner Swaney,
Yes.
Commissioner Green.
Yes.
Number of votes is 7 ayes, 7 nays, 0. Motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Moving on to committee reports for finance and administration. Gentlemen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I think I'm having some trouble with the internet and I may have to switch to phone internet, but we'll see. Is there, first
Yeah,
up,
you are
July
visible.
14th. All right. I can't see anybody, so I might just see my, all right. Can you hear me at least?
Yep. Yes.
Fine. Yep.
All right. All right. I'm gonna just go voice and we'll try to fix it up after. No, people came up. July 14th, 2020 Finance Administration Committee meeting minutes. Motion reads, move to accept and place on file the July 14th, 2020 Finance and Administration Committee meeting minutes as presented.
Support
for that? Did you support that, Mr. Hope? Commissioner Hope?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Been moved and supported to approve the July 14, 2020 Finance and Administration Committee minutes.
Pretty straightforward, accurately depicts what we talked about. Nicole made a presentation on the first draft of the budget. As always, it's a little bit low. I mean, it's not low, it's as always, there's quite a bit of money coming out. In the red, hopefully we'll get knocked down. Other than that, I think it's pretty straightforward. A little bit of COVID-19 discussion, but for the most part, that was pretty much the extent of it.
Any additional discussion? Madam Clerk, a roll call, please.
Commissioner Engler,
Yes.
Commissioner Jagodzinski,
Yes.
Commissioner Horton,
Yes.
Commissioner Marino,
Yes.
Commissioner Swaney,
Yes.
Commissioner Hope, Commissioner Green.
Yes.
Commissioner Green.
Yes.
Number
I
of
didn't.
votes,
Mr. Hope.
7. The ayes received 7, nays received 0. Motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to item number 2, the June 11th, 2020 routine personnel items. the June 25th, 2020 routine personnel items, and the July 9th, 2020 routine personnel items. And the motion reads, move to accept and place on file the June 11th, 2020 routine personnel items, the June 25th, 2020 routine personnel items, and the July 9th, 2020 routine personnel items as presented.
Support by Horton.
It's been moved and supported to approve the June 11th, 2020 routine personal items, June 25th, 2020 routine personal items, and the July 9th, 2020 routine personnel items. Discussion.
So fairly routine. The June 11th, we had 2 retirements, Rick Jakubiak and Betty McClintock, both retired. Congratulations to them. 1 temporary promotion for Mr. Jakubiak's position. 1 promotion, Carolyn Shoemaker. 3 step increases and 3 new hires. Bruce Porter, park manager, Donald Shepard, park ranger, and Kyle Schaefer, an operator for the MRF. And then moving on to the June 25th personnel items, 1 retirement, Joseph Kaleka from the trial court, 5 step increases, and I see that 2 new hires are also listed on this one that were on the June 11th. Donald Shepard and Kyle Schaefer. And then the July 9th list, 1 retirement, Mary Ann Olinger from the Commission on Aging, 1 termination, 6 step increases, and 3 new hires, Carolyn Oblinger for the Commission on Aging, Michael Lounsbury for the Drain Commission, and Michael Habowski in Parks and Rec.
Any additional discussion? Hearing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, a roll call, please.
Commissioner Jelzinski,
Yes.
Commissioner Horton,
Yes.
Commissioner Marino,
Yes.
Commissioner Swaney,
Yes.
Commissioner Hope,
Yes.
Commissioner Engler,
Yes.
Commissioner Green.
Yes.
Number of votes cast is 7. The ayes receive 7, nays receive 0. Motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Next is on our list is the June 12th, 2020 invoice list, the June 19th, 2020 invoice list, the June 26th, 2020 invoice list, July 3rd, 2020 invoice list, July 10th, 2020 invoice list, July 2nd, 2020 adjustment list, and July 16th, 2020 adjustment list. Motion reads, move to ratify and place on file the June 12th, 2020 invoice list, the amount of $275,320.26. The June 19th, 2020 invoice list, the amount of $390,280.91. The June 26th, 2020 invoice list, the amount of $170,892.73. The July 3rd, 2020 invoice list, the amount of $317,243.61. The July 10th, 2020 invoice list in the amount of $248,341.75. The adjustment list dated July 2nd, 2020, and the adjustment list dated July 16th, 2020.
Support, Hope.
It's been moved and supported to approve the June 12th, 2020 invoice list, June 19th, 2020 invoice list, 26th, 2020 invoice list, July 3rd, 2020 invoice list, July 10th, 2020 invoice list, July 2nd, 2020 adjustment list, and July 16th, 2020 adjustment list. Support or discussion.
As always, we had a chance to look at these, I believe, 5 invoice lists. As commissioners, we get these by email. We have a chance to review. We went over these in committee. I'm just going to hit the highlights on the June 12th one. We had biweekly contracts with HATS. We had a monthly equalization contract. We had some by the clerk for elections. We had drains. We had the information systems, the secure alarm, the quarterly security contract. The register of deeds had a remuneration fee, and treatment through the courts and child care was the main ones on that one. Any commissioners have any questions on the June 12th list? I I don't hear and seeing none. We'll move to the June 19th list, which was in front of me, but is no longer. So I'm going to skip to the July 26th list. And I will come back to that. And I do apologize where my June 19th list is. Which just appeared in my hand. The Michigan State University, Michigan Mid-State Health Network, the PA2 liquor tax paid for some of that. Actually, they went to that. That's our payback to that, the Mid-State Health Network from the liquor tax. I misspoke there. Integrated architecture from the May Architectural Services for the jail. Had Consumers Energy, Manpower with the material recycling facility, and you'll see that every 2 weeks. The materials, that is a contract position with Manpower for some of that labor. So we see that every 2 weeks as we do with hats as we go forward. Parks had some, the annual contract with Core Technology with the sheriff, and monthly contracts July and June with McBride Quality Care. Questions on that from any commissioners? I do apologize for this. June 26th. Again, we had the biweekly hats contract. The drains had a couple issues, had a couple statements. Manpower again appeared. Crapo Ford, it looks like the Parks, which was approved in the 2020 budget. They bought a Ford pickup truck. Consumer Energy bills for the sheriff, and McBride Quality Care was the large ticket items. Questions on that one from everybody? Next one up on my list here is the July 10th Finance Administration, the July 10th one. Preston Community, hats. We had another one for them. Preston Community Services monthly equalization contract. We had our medical examiner contract that we had to pay. That was quite a bit. That was $45,000. Drains had some community development with the Spicer Group for the wind project. Tim Newport will tell us that is going to be reimbursed down the road, I believe. Drains had quite a bit. Again, the MRF had some accented wire powers. They also had some contracted labor again. Fines to the Chippewa District Library is paid by the treasurer. And then from most, the treasurer paid it to the Chippewa River District Library. And also again for youth treatment. That was quite a significant amount. Anybody questions on the July 10th?
I just have a general comment, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Tobin?
Yeah, I had asked in committee, I'd asked Nicole about the McBride payments because we see the monthly list, and then once in a while there will be an additional charge. And I kind of asked what those were. She contacted Carrie Curtis, our court administrator, and what she said was that the day treatment charge is the $38,885 that we pay monthly. The other smaller, they're usually smaller payments, are you have the day treatment, then you have the non-secure. The non-secure would be youth treatment detention costs. We're also under contract for both the day treatment and the non-secure. Annually, the state will not allow the non-secure to be charged as a lump sum as the day treatment is, so it has to be paid at a rate per day per youth, and that's why you'll see how many youths in parentheses after that charge. And then that sum is reconciled towards the end of the fiscal year. So just a question that I had about the different charges from McBride, and I thought I'd pass that along for the other commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tobin. Also, I did miss the July 3rd, 2020 invoice list. Again, we had Verizon Wireless on there as a month, a cell phone charge for the month. Clark Construction for October to June construction services for the jail project was paid. Manpower again with material recycling center. 4 public defender appointments exceeded the $5,000 limit. However, there's several more. That's pretty standard. As we learned before, that contract is actually below what we have been paying in previous year before the MIDC contract went into effect. Monthly medical service from the sheriff. Again, as Commissioner Hope mentioned, McBride Quality Care is in there twice. And also the state of Michigan, the trial court paid the state of Michigan. Anybody have any questions on the July 3rd? Sorry to skip around that with my error and missing that. And in regards to the July, in regards to the adjustment lists, I have the June 12th and the July 30th. As far as the June 12th goes, 2020 list. Again, that adds a lot of the Gordon Food Service as we discussed, because we get an early payment for early payment discount, so that goes in. Same thing with the 19th, that was mostly Gordon Foods, had a couple other ones, just the vendor was misapplied the credit. The June 26, 2020, again, Gordon Foods, some order entry ones. It's just human error, human mistakes that can happen. July 3rd, 2020 invoice list, again, Gordon Foods, the invoices for early payment discount. Most of them, again, misapplied the credits or due to order entry, and that's why we double check and triple check things. And the July 10th invoice list, the Gordon Foods were added because of the early payment discounts reflected. And does any commissioners have any questions as far as what I just went over?
Hearing no further discussion, Commissioner Horton, are you through?
I believe I am, sir. Hopefully I didn't break up too much. I tried to go as fast as I could there, so.
You did perfect. It's a long list being gone a month.
Well, I got, one of my papers were stuck underneath another and I keeps in and out of visual, so I wanted to fly through as fast as I can before I lost something there, so.
Hearing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, a roll call, please.
Commissioner Horton,
Yes.
Commissioner Marino,
Yes.
Commissioner Sweeney,
Yes.
Commissioner Hope,
Yes.
Commissioner Engler,
Yes.
Commissioner Jalzinski,
Yes.
Commissioner Green.
Yes.
Total number of votes is 7. The ayes received 7, nays received 0. Motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Chairman, that completes the work of the Finance and Administration Committee.
Thank you very much. Good job, gentlemen. Brings us to item B, the Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee. Gentlemen?
We're going to do this real fast. We'll have one item, July 14th, 2020 Criminal Justice County Affairs Committee meeting minutes. Move to accept and place on file the July 14th, 2020 Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee meeting minutes as presented.
Support Engler.
Been moved and supported to approve the July 14th, 2020 Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee meeting minutes. Any discussion?
We didn't have any actionable items that came out of the committee meeting. We basically had a COVID-19 update from the deputy administrator, and that's what happened.
Hearing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, a roll call, please.
Commissioner Marino,
Yes.
Commissioner Sweeney,
Yes.
Commissioner Hope,
Yes.
Commissioner Engler,
Yes.
Commissioner Jalzinski,
Yes.
Commissioner Horton,
Yes.
Commissioner Green.
Yes.
Number of votes cast is 7. The ayes received 7, nays received 0. Motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Completes the work of the Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Good job. Fast and efficient. Item C is the Human Resource and Public Works Committee. Gentlemen, what do you have for us this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our first item is the July 14th Human Resources and Public Works Committee meeting minutes. The motion reads, move to accept and place on file the July 14th, 2020 Human Resources and Public Works Committee meeting minutes as presented.
Support Sweeney.
Been moved and supported to approve the July 14th, 2020 Human Resource and Public Works Committee meeting minutes. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, Madam Clerk, a roll call, please.
Commissioner Sweeney,
Yes.
Commissioner Hope,
Yes.
Commissioner Engler,
Yes.
Commissioner Jalzinski,
Yes.
Commissioner Horton,
Yes.
Commissioner Marino,
Yes.
Commissioner Green.
Yes.
Number of votes is 7. The ayes received 7, nays received 0. Motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item is agreement with Almagon LLC for 911 Fetch GIS Custom Services. The motion reads, move to approve the agreement between Algon LLC and Isabella County for Isabella County 911 Fetch GIS Custom Service in the amount of $5,000 and authorize the board chair to sign the same.
Support Swaney.
Been moved and supported to agree, moved and supported to approve the agreement with Algogram LLC for 911 Fetch GIS Custom Services. Discussion.
Could we have Mr. Neoport take this part, please?
Yeah, good evening. This is a partnership with Central Dispatch and Amalgam LLC, which is a local company here in Mount Pleasant. We're looking to provide a link between the E911 CAD system and the Fetch application that we currently use, the GIS application online, for public viewing of traffic incidents throughout Isabella County. This discussion came back post-flood of 2017, where we were looking to get the a little more robust system for activities or infrastructure type activities on a live basis into our GIS system. We were fortunate enough earlier this year, prior to the COVID shutdown, to pull together some ideas and come together with Amalgam to put this together. So tonight we're just looking for your approval of the agreement in the amount of $5,000 to provide this this new online live application for traffic incidents out of the E911.
Any additional discussion? Commissioner Jalajinsky.
Just have a question. I don't know how much public interest there is in looking up traffic incidents online. Is there some other value to the county besides that? Because I'm wondering, is it worth $5,000 to spend for something that maybe wouldn't get a lot of use?
Well, I think from a dispatch standpoint, this is basically dispatch heard a lot of communications or post the flood of 2017 with regard to the expediency or the process for us getting data out, which we were doing relatively quickly. They felt that they could push this out in a 3 to 5 minute unmanned sort of an automated system where it wouldn't be something that would be slowing us down if we were into an emergency situation into the future. I don't know exactly what the the impact, how many calls 911 has received for this type of data individually, but I do know that there has been some requests for this type of data and information. I will go on to say that several, I think it's $2,000 of this, $3,000 of this is being paid directly out of the 911 fund into the GIS fund, and then the GIS fund is using the other $2,000 from a previous 2% grant to pay for this.
Do you know what kind of information would be made available for each incident? Would be the drivers involved or?
No, it's base information that comes in through the dispatch. It's like, what was the incident? Deer car accident. There'll be an icon basically that'll pop up on a countywide map that'll show the intersection and the location of a deer car incident. For example, power line down across the road. When that call comes in, that location will be pinged and there'll be a notification put on there basically showing that. There'll be no personal information, nothing other than transportation related activities and no personal information displayed.
Thank you.
Other discussion? Hearing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, a roll call, please.
Commissioner Hope,
Yes.
Commissioner Engler,
Yes.
Commissioner Jalazinski,
Yes.
Commissioner Horton,
Yes.
Commissioner Marino,
Yes.
Commissioner Swaney,
Yes.
Commissioner Green.
Yes.
Number of votes is 7, ayes are 7, nays are 0. Motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
All right, item number 3, agreement with Amalgam LLC for parcel maintenance. Motion reads, move to approve the agreement between Amalgam LLC and Isabella County for parcel maintenance in the amount of $13,500 annually, effective October 1st, 2020 until September 30th, 2023, and authorize the board chair to sign the same.
Support Marino.
Been moved and supported to approve the agreement with Malin Graham LLC for parcel maintenance. Discussion.
So this is a renewal with Amalgam. They've been working with them for decades to do parcel maintenance, and I'll let Tim get into specifics of it.
Yeah, thank you again. This is, again, a renewal contract, as Commissioner Swaney had indicated. We currently have an existing agreement with Amalgam LLC, which is a 3-year agreement ending September 30th of 2020. This new agreement is identical to the previous. We've been doing business with Amalgam since 2006. It's a local company here. They've been providing parcel maintenance for us since around that 2006-07 period of time. Up until I think it was 2013, that parcel maintenance agreement and contract was managed by the elected official of the Drain Commission. And then in 2013, that was moved into the GIS budget or into the GIS fund. We've had a couple of contracts with them since then. The fee has stayed the same, the $13,500 annually for their maintenance. And basically what happens is any changes in deeds or land or splits or parcel records get modified. They come in through the assessors into our equalization department. Equalization builds these up on a quarterly basis in a folder. The company comes in, picks up, makes all the modifications, and delivers that to us on a quarterly basis. So our parcel fabric, which is the main fabric of our GIS, we get most of our power out of the parcel fabric that's created. And this is just, again, a renewal of that existing contract.
Any other discussion? Tim, I have a question. On the parcel maintenance also, does that include the addresses of new people to a different parcel? In other words, if I bought a parcel tomorrow morning from a person in Isabella County, does that include the name change that they'll put on this parcel or not?
Actually, that happens in an automated setting nightly. So every single night, equalization gets those name changes or address changes and those types of things. When equalization puts them into the system, I believe at midnight or 2 a.m. Every night that we run an SQL that kicks out basically all changes that happen to the database. And if you went on to our Fetch GIS system tonight, you could, I can test it on my own property, and I have, where I've changed the address one night just to make sure it's working. The next morning it's changed. I can change it back and it'll go back the next day. So that happens nightly in an automated process.
Thank you very much. That's fast. Any other discussion? Hearing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, another roll call, please.
Commissioner Engler,
Yes.
Commissioner Jazinski,
Yes.
Commissioner Horton,
Yes.
Commissioner Marino,
Yes.
Commissioner Swaney,
Yes.
Commissioner Holt,
Yes.
Commissioner Green.
Yes.
Number of votes is 7. The ayes are 7, nays are 0. Motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item is building inspection fee adjustments. The motion reads, move to approve the proposed fee adjustments effective October 1st, 2020 pursuant to PA 230 of 1972 and Isabella County State Construction Code Ordinance 06-01 as follows. Adjust the plan review fee on all residential projects from 25 to 35 and adjust the administrative fee, application fee from 17 to 25 and adjust the per inspection rate from 55 to 65. And these haven't been changed for a long time, right, Mr. Newport?
Is there support for that?
Oh,
Support
sorry.
Swaney.
It's been moved and supported to adjust the building inspection fee adjustments. Discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, so to answer your question, the first fee, the plan review fee hasn't been changed in probably over 10 years. The other two fees did take slight bumps back in 2017. But the main reason for us to move them again or to consider making this adjustment again is based on the DB retirement and the indirect costs that the fund has begun to occur back in 2017-18 timeframe. Those are fees that are obviously associated with the fund. They were never in there prior to that, but they're definitely fees that are associated or costs that are associated with the fund. And when I was taking a look annually, as I do this year, we had $188,107 since the 2018 fiscal year in additional costs for those two items. This year, currently, we're at $79,618. When I put the budget together for this year, we saw a deficit of about $97,000 or $96,000 that we would need to be utilizing from fund balance. And what we did was I kind of softened that a little bit by moving these fees, or at least proposing to move these fees a little bit to generate some more of that money to come back to us. I think these fee increases I estimate to come up to about $47,250 is the estimated number, which basically will cut our deficit our utilization of fund balance in half for next year. When we pulled basically put these two together, like I said, in 2017, we moved two of these fees. When I move fees, or I consider moving a fees, I always take a look at the state of Michigan and where the state of Michigan is, because if the board were to decide that the enforcing agency was not something that they wanted locally, we'd be going back to the state of Michigan for services. And so we did take a look, and the state of Michigan runs a $75 application, non-refundable application fee. Our application or administrative fee is currently $17, and we're looking to move it to the $25. The plan review fee, again, we're charging $25 currently. Our building, it takes roughly, an average 45 minutes to an hour to perform a plan review on a residential project. And our building official is currently paid, I think with benefits, right around $41 or $42 an hour. So we're really not covering our costs much there. And then on the inspection rate, again, the state of Michigan charges currently a $75 per inspection fee. And we're currently at 55, looking to go to the 65. Like I said, the total generation would be right about $47,250 in additional revenue to the fund.
Plus the turnaround time is much better with us than the state, right?
Yeah, it's all relative. When we do comparisons, we compare what we charge for fees and the service that we provide. We're doing basically 24-hour turnaround services. You call today, tomorrow you're likely going to get your inspection. There are some snafus in that don't always work out. The state of Michigan doesn't come around daily to our community. They don't come around daily to many communities. It's usually a week to 2 weeks time frame, which is time and money for contractors, time and money for people paying, for loans and such. So I think we provide a good service. The law allows us to charge a reasonable fee for the service that we provide. I think we provide actually an excellent service, and we're still lower than that fee would be if we were with the state of Michigan.
Any additional discussion? Tim, you mentioned this was about 10 years ago. This was the last time they were adjusted.
Well, the plan review fee itself was adjusted approximately 10 years ago on the residential side. The other two were in 2017.
So 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any additional discussion?
And this is looking at an effective date of October 1. So for beginning next
right.
year.
Commissioner Jalozinski?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay.
Just scratching my head.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Jalozinski,
Yes.
Commissioner Horton,
Yes.
Commissioner Marino,
Yes.
Commissioner Swaney,
Yes.
Commissioner Hope,
Yes.
Commissioner Engler,
Yes.
Commissioner Green.
Yes.
Number of votes is 7, ayes are 7, nays are 0. Motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
That concludes the work of the Public Works and Human Resources Committee, Mr. Chairman.
Good job, gentlemen. You had a long list there to go through. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it.
Good job, Tim.
Item number D is the intergovernmental affairs. We don't have any this evening. No administrator controller issues. No unfinished business. Under new business, the COVID-19 discussion. Who would like to start that, please? It's going up.
Anybody hear me?
Go ahead, Mr. Horton.
if anybody can hear me before I break up again, as we all know, we've now under a mandated wear mask, facial coverings while you're in public, and I will emphasize I've been supportive of that. Having businesses and having to have people come into my pharmacies it's been required in pharmacies for quite a long time. I look at it this way: it protects the other person, and anything I can do to help someone else or protect another person, I'm going to do it, regardless of my personal opinion about wearing them, which I, again, feel that if I can help another person out, I will do it. And that is why if someone comes into a business, you're protecting the employees of that business. So keep that in mind as you go in. So it's a good thing. It seems like we're having an increase in COVID-19 in our area. We had a situation over the 4th of July weekend involving a group in a lake in this area. Again, that's going to happen as we go forward, as we open up more and more. Just like I said, maintain social distance, wear facial coverings, wash your hands. That's what the 3 things, and it's not hard to do. You just got to do it. And Nicole, I think we're going to probably have a discussion very shortly. I think in 2 more days, we've got to decide. Not we got to decide. You've got to decide, or we got to come to an agreement situation in regards to the county reopening. And I'm not seeing anything that wouldn't keep us going to the same way we've been going. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. Since we got all the commissioners here right now, I'm in favor of extending it probably at least another 2 weeks. I think with the amount of cases we've had, I've not had any of my constituents contact me in regards to a denial of services they've received. So I think as we go forward, I think that's just maintaining, and that's seems to be the normal course of business now. We've got to be safe, and I think that can, I would be very much in support of extending that 2 more weeks. I don't know if we can have that discussion here, but that would be my viewpoint on that. So that pretty much completes it for me, sir.
Any additional discussion, Nicole?
I think I think we can have it. I think we can have the discussion now, Commissioner Horton. I know Chairman Green shares your thoughts. This is not the time to change our course. The data, has been the driver, and that local trajectory has been the driver, and what are we doing next? And it's still going in the wrong way. So I do feel like another 2-week extension is in order. However, I do want to say during this time of another 2-week extension, I will be working hard to do something different in the county building that Chairman and I are sitting in right now. It is a different building. It does stand apart from others. We have service windows in place in all of our offices here, and we have staff leaving the security of those offices to go out to let people in, and it's not ideal. And I feel like maybe, one entrance, a manned entrance that we can control would be in our best interest and serve the residents and our staff well. So I do think we are going to extend, but I do think that during that extension, you're going to see maybe some change.
Like we had talked to, I think before, Nicole and I had discussions too, and in grocery stores and pharmacies, we're mandated to have vulnerable patient hours or vulnerable people hours. I think that's something too we might want to consider adding. Again, it's all about keeping our service level up to our constituents, and I think we're doing an excellent job at doing that, from what I've heard. So,
Mr. Chairman, may I say something?
Yes, Mindy?
I do know as the county clerk that we cannot continue the appointments as we are doing. We are doing 20 to 25 to 30 a day. I have my employees running a circle around this building. We're being put into jeopardy, coming into contact with our people. And we're getting some very aggressive people now that are upset that we're closed. So to have security point or one point at the door, if we have to go into another extension, is safer upon the employees versus putting our employees right in front of the public instead of behind our glass. Because if the extension does continue, I will not continue appointments because we just cannot do it any longer. It's taken a toll on all of our employees. Thank you.
Great. Any other discussion?
I would,
Go ahead, Mr. Sweeney.
I would lend my support to opening up if we had a manned security gateway that was made sure that everyone coming in had masks for sure. And if that eases up, for county clerk and everyone else who's got glass between that's great. Obviously, we have other safety issues. We need probably to gloves and glove disposables for things that are passed, but you're probably already doing that. So
Yeah.
I'm in favor of that. That's a good idea. So,
Commissioner Gordon.
yeah, I'm in favor of that. I wasn't aware of Mindy's issue there. So yeah, if that's the case, and if we're putting employees at jeopardy, if we can solve that by having a one entrance, having it monitored, I'm in favor of that wholeheartedly.
Other discussion, Commissioner Jalzinski.
I'm in favor of opening up sooner than later, at any time, whether we wait 2 weeks or a month, it's always going to be a risk. You're gambling. It's a gamble and we don't have the crystal ball to see, but if we can do it in a safe manner, I think it's something we should do for our citizens.
Yeah. Other discussion, Commissioner Marino.
It's pretty sad that people have to get an attitude about it. It's bad. The whole situation is bad enough, and that just aggravates the situation. We should be trying to help each other out in every single way instead of making things worse in a nasty way. And I see that a lot, and I have heard about it a lot since the very beginning, especially about masks, which is another stupid thing to be upset about, because it doesn't only help yourself, the other people, it also helps yourself. So if we all did it, and if we got it up to 90%, it would save a lot of lives.
Any additional discussion? In traveling around, I think people are to the point that they don't care anymore about the coronavirus. In other words, they don't believe a lot of the things that's happened. If you look, I look at just the commodities market, and Nicole and I were talking about this. It was what, a month and a half ago that oil went down and declined below anything a barrel. I think then the travel was down. Maybe people believed what was truthfully going on and tried to stay home, not travel, not spend their stuff. But today, oil's at $41, $42 a barrel on the average. That means people are traveling, boats are moving, stuff's going. And no matter where you go, you see very few masks worn out in the country, if any at all. And even when I was down to the cigar shop today and a person went in there, didn't have a mask on, and I don't know whether it's the owner or not, but he actually ordered the guy, says, "Hey, did you read the sign on the door?" "Well, no, you got to have a mask on." Well, he went outside. He said, "Go out and read the sign." Well, then the owner gave him a mask. I don't know what his use. He went in there, and then the guy went out the door and kept the mask. But the owner went out and got the mask back. But when you got people like that, they haven't any concerns about getting over this COVID-19. They don't care. Or I don't know what their position is, but as long as you got people like that traveling around, spreading disease, you're not going to stop. And Isabella County's one right now. I think we're up to 155 cases, 8 deaths. That's a long ways from what it was just a week ago. And Commissioner Marino, you and I are going to have a meeting Thursday with the health department for an update in the morning, I believe at 11 o'clock. So,
right.
Any other discussion?
10 o'clock.
Mr. Chairman, are you going to discuss the elections that we discussed earlier at this point or later on in the meeting?
If what I was going to do, Mindy, is when we get to it, that would be good because, yeah, let's do it right now. Mindy actually talked to Nicole and I about the election night attendees and the security process, which is the paper we have right here. But Mindy, why don't you go over what you went over with Nicole and I because of the concerns you have with the coronavirus, keeping the people down out of the alleyways, the security that we've actually hired that Tom Burns recommended. So go ahead if you want.
Okay. Commissioners, I have given to Nicole and to Commissioner Green a list of the clerk employees that will be staffed in the county building, along with 3 additional, 2 IT, and I have 2 reporters so that we have live reporting coverage. I have the Morning Sun and also CM Life so that all of the community will be well informed and have live feedback. Those will be the only ones permitted inside the county building. And what I have proposed is to have 1 to 2 security guards that, as Mr. Chairman just discussed, Under Sheriff Tom Burns was saying STT, Security and Investigative Services. I've spoken to them, looking at having 1 to 2 of them at their front doors. I'm only allowing 2 township election workers to come in, 1 Republican, 1 Democrat. The security guard will go over the COVID questions with them at the front door, along with ensuring that they have facial mask coverage. And then they will allot them in up to our office, and I will have them spaced apart 6 feet and let them come in 1 at a time into the office with the results. The greatest thing on this is we will not allow the public to come in, but we have electionreporting.com, which is live feed. They can see as the results come in, along with the Morning Sun having the results and CM Live. This way, I think the general public, I don't have to worry about the general public being in the county building since we will still be under the executive order. And I'm also protecting the election workers along with the county workers that are here. So I just kind of wanted to run this past you guys so you all know what's happening and to see if any of you have any other concerns or ideas out there for me before the election, since the election falls on meeting night, I think, so.
Good job, Mindy. Any questions for Mindy on this? It's kind of a concern for her because you let the people in down there and then we can't have it like we used to have it when the hall up here on the 2nd floor was actually passed with it. Mindy's not going to print off papers and put them on the wall anymore. That'll be on the website or whatever she's going to do to actually distribute the information. But it's a concern because she's got to keep it under control, or the security people do. And that might be a tough task. Mr. Marino.
I have a question for the Madam Clerk. Have a lot of people voted by absentee, and is that going to be a hassle for you because you can't open them up until right at the last minute?
We're allowed to open them up all throughout the day. We're at 30% so far on our ABs. So I'm guessing we'll have about 20 to 30% that walk in. So no, we're pretty much ready for it. It will be a big election, as big as November, but we're pretty set. We also have State of Michigan gave us a truckload of PPE. So I've been dispersing that to all polling locations. So if people want to come in and vote in person, we're ready to have a safe environment for those that would like to walk in and cast their vote also.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to the CARES Act funding discussion. Nicole?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. So what a whirlwind this has been since they announced it, really. Quite a lot of money available out there through a lot of different streams, but it all just coming out so fast and furious. I think it was the July, maybe 8th or 9th before they released the application materials, and the payroll reimbursement grant application was due last Friday on the 17th, basically a week after they let the application out. So as I said earlier in my report, we did meet the deadline for our public safety payroll for the county. It's over 1.4 million for April and May. We included not only our I would say our obvious public safety, our sheriff's department and corrections 911 operators, but we also, because the grant guidance allows county administration to determine, are there other employees whose duties were substantially dedicated to the COVID response at the time. And we felt like our building and grounds, facility staff, and IT staff were solely at the time working on our COVID response and certainly in support of the sheriff's department and 911 operators. So we did include those in the payroll reimbursement grant. Again, it's for the months of April and May. Fingers crossed, and we'll see how much we get. That grant will be prorated based on all those who applied. Now, again, we did receive requests from the health department that week to apply on their behalf. Lots of emails and phone calls between us, the health department, and Treasury, and trying to get guidance on this brand new thing. Treasury was responding to emails a few days later, like in the wee hours of the night. So I know they were working hard. They had a lot coming at them at the time. But essentially the guidance we got was no, the health department would not be eligible on their own because their payroll isn't paid through the county payroll because they are a district health department. Meanwhile, single county health departments would be eligible. So philosophically, that's tough to wrangle. However, not our fight, but certainly the health department contacted legislators and they're working on a fix there. But the thought was, and I notified Treasury that our initial Isabella County Public Safety Grant is in, it was accepted. It was very separate, it included nothing of the health department. And then we submitted a separate one on their behalf, only had those public health expenses so that they could be in line if they were able to seek a legislative fix. So I felt it was important to support our local partners in that way. The next point, yes, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any other discussion? I have a few words to say on it. It amazes me that a county health department, which is what ours is, and ours is district because we couldn't afford a county health department here in Isabella County. And you have to have the same thing a district does, an epidemiologist, a doctor, all this stuff, and it costs a lot of money. But yet, if you're in a county health department, you're underneath the county that can send in what you've got. Right now, Commissioner Marino and I just went through the budget up there for the Central Michigan District Health Department. They put in new budget just $79,000 for COVID-19 expense. But for the April, May, June, part of July here, that Dr. Morris and the epidemiologist and Allison and Steve Hall and the other girl,
Melissa,
her name there, that actually does the EOC, emergency operations stuff, they've got literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours in on this. Yet because it's a district health department by 6 counties, you can't introduce it under one county. So it's going to be problematic, as the term goes, as to how the health department actually gets funded out of this, if they will at all, unless the legislation is changed in Lansing. And it needs to be changed because the 40 health departments in the state of Michigan have all worked this because the governor put them as the #1 lead on the COVID-19. But it doesn't make sense not to, but it's got to change. Any other discussion?
You want to talk about the hazard pay grant now, the hazard pay premium. So there's the other grant under the CARES Act funding.
Yep, let's go on to the other
Yep.
one.
Other than the payroll reimbursement is the hazard pay. Now, I had sent you an update late Friday as we're working to apply for the other. We realized, I think it was late Thursday, we realized that the hazard pay premium pay grant was not due Friday. That is a first come, first serve. So if we are applying, we do want to do it quickly. I apologize for the way that it was discussed in each of your committees. Normally we would have the luxury of further more information and more time to discuss. So an application didn't go in, even though I felt there certainly was consensus about among the board, because there's new information and we have new guidance. I want to talk first about eligibility of staff of who would be eligible to receive the premium pay. We have gotten further guidance from Treasury on that. And it is similar to the payroll reimbursement grant. It's up to definition by the chief administrative officer of the county to determine who would be eligible for this. And again, this is considered, the frontline staff. I've received a listing from our 911 director in his regard of, his staff who would be eligible. I've received a listing from sheriff, and, they're all frontline workers, and I wouldn't go against what they felt was warranted in their department. They were all frontline. So eligibility, I think throughout those departments, you would see eligibility across the board for that. Again, at 911 and at the sheriff's office. Really what the big change from when I spoke to you last Tuesday in committees, we apply first come, first serve. If we're paying the premium pay, we have to say we're paying it by September 30. We get the money reimbursed to us in November if we're successful. But the difference is they're saying now we will know within 2 weeks of when we apply if we're going to receive the funding or not. So when I talked to you last Tuesday, I said, if we're applying, we have to pay it. Because in my mind, we had to be paid by September. We wouldn't get money until November. But we will find out. So I guess the question is, I know this, a route that the city of Mount Pleasant took was they told their employees, look, there's money on the table for you. We'll gladly apply for that on your behalf. If we receive it, we'll gladly pay you. If we do not receive it, we're not going to pay you. So that is a big change from what we discussed on Tuesday.
I guess the concern is in the way this grant is being applied for and whether it's a yes or no and what you're going to get. Does the board want to put a motion on right now that if they get the grant, so be it, it's dispersed. If they don't, I don't believe the county commission has the money to pay that grant. In other words, to provide the incentive for the upfront people that's going to be put in on this, roughly $1,000, I believe. Correct, Nicole?
Each employee would be eligible for $1,000.
Right. Then we would be subject to paying that if they didn't get the grant. I guess the question I'd like to ask is, would you like to put a motion on right now that if they don't get the grant, we can't afford to pay it? Or what's your feelings on this discussion?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. Nicole, my audio was breaking up a little bit. I think what you said was 2 weeks from now, we can find out if we'll be awarded the grant or not. Is that?
You broke up a little bit on me that time, Tobin, but yeah, after we apply, they're saying we'll know within 2 weeks if we're successful.
Oh, okay. After we apply.
Other discussion. Commissioner Jalajinsky.
Nicole may have mentioned this, but I didn't catch it. Sometimes talking through the mask, I don't always catch everything, but is this a requirement you have to pay out first to get and then get reimbursed?
No. The only requirement in the application is we have to say the date that we will pay it. That's part of the, so we'll pick a day probably in September, right? And
Right.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, I think it's in our best interest to make the motion because I know there's going to be more care, for lack of a better term, more grants coming up. I think this next round of funding, hopefully there'll be something in there similar to, if not in addition to. So I think right now I would make that motion that we apply for the grant with the caveat that if the grant does not come through, then we are not required to make the payment to the employee.
Is there support for that?
Second that, Jalazinski.
Okay. It's been moved and supported to do Commissioner Horton's motion. Now, any additional discussion? I agree with that motion. I mean, right now, money's getting tight in Isabella County. Cash flow is literally, I'm not saying it's non-existent, but we're watching every dime you can put in there. So I don't think we can be responsible for paying that if that motion doesn't, if the grant doesn't come through. If it does, fine. But if it don't, personally, I don't know. I don't think we can afford to pay it. That's my opinion. Any, Rainey?
Did I miss it? Did someone say the number of employees that would be eligible or estimated number for the $1,000?
It is, so it's up to $1,000 per employee. There are some part-time employees, at least in the sheriff's department, where he suggested, the part-time do not receive the same amount as the full-time. So it's not a flat, 1,000 times
Right.
employees, but still the estimate of 75,000 that was given Tuesday's committee is solid. That's
Okay.
a solid number for our maximum exposure here. And that would be including the FICA and things that we pay on that, because we don't get that piece reimbursed. Just the $1,000 hazard pay that would get reimbursed.
Thank you.
Now, Nicole, is that an all or nothing grant? So if we request 75,000, will they pay 75, or they pay a prorated portion of that? Or if they determine some people aren't eligible, how is that going to work?
It's a first come, first serve grant. So when the money runs out, you would just be unsuccessful and not funded. They might fund the last one at a prorated amount, but to me, I think it's first come, first serve. So.
Okay.
Additional discussion.
And as far, I'm sorry, and my second part, I don't know if you heard my second part, because do they weed people out? So if we put in, say, 40 employees or 75 FTEs or something like that, if they look at that, they go, well, only 62 of those are eligible for the grant. Does that work, or would that be factored in?
I think so.
To my knowledge, I don't think so. They've only capped it at $1,000 per employee and $5 million per ask from each entity.
Yeah, I would get that application in. $5 million is first come, first serve, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, can you only imagine Oakland County or Wayne County or Macomb County putting in down there with the thousands and thousands of people they've got versus us here? 75,000 for our part-time and full-time people is just a spit in the ocean for down there. So if we don't get it in here pretty soon, those guys should probably eat it alive. That's my thinking on this.
You're absolutely right, Chairman. And the big ones, remember, were excluded from the payroll reimbursement
Yep.
grant because they were able to get federal CARES Act dollars directly. Those with the counties and cities who were over 500,000 in population. But those entities are back in for this grant.
Other discussion? Hearing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, a roll call, please, on Commissioner Horton's motion.
Commissioner Swaney,
Yes.
Commissioner Hope,
Yes.
Commissioner Engler,
Yes.
Commissioner Jalzinski,
Yes.
Commissioner Horton,
Yes.
Commissioner Marino,
Yes.
Commissioner Green.
Yes.
Number of votes cast is 7, ayes received 7, nays received 0. Motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Moving on, there's no general public comment. Nicole, could you ask that question, please?
Absolutely. We do still have 2 callers. So this is the second public comment section, and time for you to press *9 on your keypad. We do have a hand raised. They are. So caller with the last 3 digits, 566. I'm going to unmute you so Chairman, you can recognize them.
Are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Marita Adam-Schiffman. I'm Mid-Michigan Health's president for what we call our central region. And I dialed in tonight to listen to the conversation about COVID-19. And I just wanted to thank you all for the leadership that you're showing. I know this is a terribly difficult time, and I just really appreciate all of your comments. And that's all I really wanted to say.
Thank you, Marie. Appreciate it. Is there?
is another person. I do not see their hand raised. And they should press *9 at this time if they want to speak. They are not
Nobody.
raising their hand, Mr. Chairman.
There's no other general public comment, folks. That brings us down to announcements. Are there any announcements? Commissioner Marino?
Yeah, I heard with interest that the state Supreme Court ruled on that controversy over the delinquent tax fund, foreclosure and all that stuff. And it seems like it's not good for us.
Probably right, Commissioner Marino.
I would echo that.
Commissioner Jaldzinski?
I have two requests. In fact, one of them dealt with that Supreme Court ruling on the Raphael versus Oakland County, where it was found unconstitutional for a government to retain surplus proceeds from tax foreclosure sales. I'm sure we don't know the full ramifications, whether it's going forward, if there's some look back period of time, but it'd be nice to maybe Treasurer Steve Pickens come, and he probably has more information from the Treasurers Association and kind of get to see what the ramifications are for the county, since we depended on that fund for our operational budget for substantial dollars. The second is I've had a couple of questions dealing with the Isabella County Road Commission and asking for update on the building project. I have no information. I haven't seen anything in the paper. I don't know if there's maybe Tony Casale could give us an update on that project so that we'd have that information to share with our constituents.
Absolutely.
Nicole can contact him and ask him to come in front of the board and give us an update.
Thank you. That's two
Happy
things.
to contact both of those.
Any other announcements? I have one. After Margaret went in the hospital and came out, I took it upon myself to send some flowers to her. And I had Nicole get into it, and she said that Jessica knew the type of flowers she liked and that. And so we sent the flowers down to her with a nice card from the Board of Commissioners, hoping she gets well and things like this. And it turned out real good. The only problem is that I had a $79 bill in this. And I was wondering if the commissioners would like to put in $10 a piece towards that. If you would, the next time we meet, participate, I'll pick up the added money because that would be $70, another 19. So I'll pick up the $19, but $10 a piece, I think, is what each one would owe. So
Kind of like a tip, isn't it, George?
Can I Venmo you, George?
yeah. Thank you, gentlemen.
Sounds reasonable.
Sounds
Well,
reasonable.
I didn't go cheap. I turned it over to those two, and that's what they came back with. And I thought that was a very reasonable amount. I told Commissioner Horton about this, and he said, there's no way you could do stuff like that. It takes 150, I think your number was, Jim, but that's what the number is, and I fully respect that. Any other announcements? Moving on, last item we have is the closed session for the land purchase. I need a motion to go into closed session.
So
I'll
moved.
make a motion. Support Horton.
Been moved and supported to go into closed session. Okay, roll call,
Identify
please.
yourselves.
But
Who made the motion?
Jelazinski?
Thank you.
did you get the support, Mindy?
Yes, I think I had Horton on that.
Correct.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Horton,
Yes.
Commissioner Marino,
Yes.
Commissioner Swaney,
Yes.
Commissioner Hope,
Yes.
Commissioner Engler,
Yes.
Commissioner Jalzinski,
Yes.
Commissioner Green.
Yes.
Number of votes is 7. Ayes are 7, nays are 0. Motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Nicole, can you find out if the doors are all closed? this is a new thing
So-
going into closed session over this, and Michelle's probably,
So,
it'll just take a
yep,
second.
it'll take a minute.
Yeah,
So,
take a minute or so to
I-
make sure we're in closed session truthfully.
yes. And so what I have to do is I'll actually, Michelle, you're showing now, just a FYI. Michelle's gonna show a sign in this meeting room while I'm gonna move you into which will be the closed session. And Mindy, I need to know if you want Brenda in that room as well.
That's
Okay.
fine,
All
yeah.
right, I'll move us and Brenda over there. While we're in that room, in case anyone joins the meeting, Michelle's gonna have on her screen a sign that says the board's in closed session. What do I need to?
Board is currently in closed session.
okay,
right
you
here
can
on
see-
the-
Okay, you see her with it.
Do you
Okay.
folks have that on your screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Okay,
So if you'll just give me a minute, I do have to take time to move you into the breakout room. It's gonna feel a little different. Your screen is this meeting might disappear for a minute, but it'll show you that you're gonna move into a different room, and then all of a sudden we'll be in a different room. So
going to the breakout.
go into the breakout room. So
I'd like to thank the board really quick tonight, and I'm gonna leave the meeting at this time.
Okay,
Hey, Tim.
Thank you.
yeah, thanks, Tim.
thanks, Tim. Okay.
Do I hit join?
Join, yep, you want to join that room. The closed session. Okay, we're gonna leave you back here, Michelle.
Oh, I see, we're all going into it right now. Yep.
So you need to answer yes
Yep.
to this or join. There we go.
Still have some commissioners muted.
Frank, you're muted. Nicole, you're muted. Frank's still muted.
There you go.
There.
There we go.
Perfect. We're back and no one is the only non-video participant other than us is Brenda. Brenda's-
Okay, thank you.
No one else is present.
Is everybody in, Nicole?
Everybody's in, we're back on, we're live streaming to YouTube.
And do I put Michelle in when she was in prior to, or?
Right.
Michelle is left. Yeah, she
Okay.
wasn't here prior to it, but she's gone now.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Jelajinski, would you like to make your motion, please?
Do we approve the minutes of, or approve the minutes of the closed session first? Or do I make my motion first?
We had a roll call, didn't we, Mindy?
Yes, we had a roll call. We came out of closed session. We did
okay.
not read the minutes, but we can bring those down to Nicole and you guys can
Okay.
review them and then they're just sealed up.
All right.
Yep.
Just-
You want to
Yes.
move to approve the minutes, Mindy?
You mean read them?
Yes,
No,
or not read
No,
them,
not, we're,
not read them, can't read them now, but,
no.
No, we're on to, if you guys are gonna make a
Okay.
motion.
right,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
I move to authorize the chairman of the Board of Commissioners to negotiate purchase of a piece of property for future county facilities.
Support Marino.
been moved and supported to approve the chairman of the board to try and reach negotiations on a piece of property for the detention facility. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Hope,
Yes.
Commissioner Engler,
Yes.
Commissioner Jazinski,
Yes,
Commissioner Horton,
Yes.
Commissioner Marino,
Yes.
Commissioner Sweeney,
Yes.
Commissioner Green.
Yes,
Number of votes is 7. The ayes receive 7, nays receive 0. Motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
thank you. I want to thank the commissioners for going along with this. It's something we have to do for the jail. Otherwise, you might as well close down the barn and send them home. But I'll bring back before the negotiations, when we get a final negotiations, that you will approve. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Horton.
Support Sweeney.
Been moved and supported to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
We're adjourned.
Nicole, anything for me to sign?
No.
Okay.
Sure.
Good night, guys.
Mr. Chairman.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Time for dinner.
Yep, good night.